Hi, and welcome to another episode where I restore vintage old drive-in speakers and try to make them look even better than they were before. Right now what we have here is an Australian drive-in speaker. The company is NTS, and I'm not really sure what that stands for, but I will look it up. This speaker is really nice. It is kind of worn out and pitted, and we're going to paint all that up and fix it up nicely. We're also going to put a new cord on the back and replace some of these screws. Now, this unit is missing one screw here, and this screw here is stuck. So we're going to have to get a way to get that open. Then once we get this opened up, we'll take a look inside, see if we need to replace the speaker and the internal wires, and we'll make this thing look pretty. Okay, so I've tried a couple methods right now to get this screw loose, and it's not playing nice. So I'm going to try to use some screw extraction equipment. First thing I'm going to do is give this thing a little squirt of WD-40 for a lubricant, try to loosen things up. Then I'm going to try to use this drill bit to try to drill a little hole inside so I can use a screw extractor. We'll see how that works. Okay, well, it seems to have gone right through. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but we are going to find out very quickly. Well, guys, it took forever. The drill bit that I put in here, I tried to go with a bigger drill bit, and it actually snapped off. This is why you buy quality tools and not the cheap stuff from that one place that I bought it from. That's on me. However, I was able to get this open, so let's take a look inside this unit. Now, as you can see, these screws will need to be retightened because this is a nasty wobble and I don't like that. Okay, now what they did here, they put foam on the back, and that was to put this thing as close to the grill as possible. Now, if I look at the wiring looks really good. I don't think I have to change the speaker or the wiring. Let's take a quick look at the cone. And the cone actually looks really good. There's no tears, there's no flakes. I can reuse this. I don't have to take it all, I don't have to put a new one in. These rubber rings were used to space out the cone, and they go on these little ledges. That's why this wasn't drilled in. It was actually friction fit in with foam, with the foam pieces. Now, as you can see here, the speaker wire will definitely have to be replaced because it's missing. There's supposed to be wire here. It's supposed to go to the junction box back in the day. So we'll need to put new wire on this. That being said, I can take these units apart, put them in a bag for safe keeps, and then we can start painting this thing. So we've got the speaker taken apart. This is the back shell, and it's got this weird bluish faded color to it. It doesn't match with the front, and we're going to repaint this entire unit. And I want to get the original bluish tint off as much as possible. And to do that, I'm going to use this stuff. This is Rust-Oleum aircraft remover, and the idea is I can spray it on here, come back in about 20 minutes, give it a scrape, see if anything comes off, and then we should be good to go. Give it a nice liberal coat, and we'll check back in about 20 minutes. Okay, it's been 20 minutes. Let's see what happens. Let's use this little plastic scraper. I mean, it is definitely coming loose. It'll probably need another coat, but we're definitely seeing some scraping coming off. This is what we want to see. So I'm going to work on this off camera so we can get it down to the bare aluminum. So while the back of the unit is losing its paint, I'm going to start taking the front of the unit apart. Now, this is the foam, and we're going to pull the speaker wire out. This is not really bolted in. Most American ones, this would be bolted in. These are held in by the foam, so we'll just carefully take those and put them aside. The only thing that's really holding this together is this potentiometer, the volume control. So what I'm going to do is flip this back over. I'm going to pop this out by wedging a flathead screwdriver right in between and just twisting gently. That takes that out. And then I can just lift the entire unit right out. Well, most of it. This thing is still kind of bolted in. Well, there we go. It's out now. Okay, we're going to put all of these things in a plastic bag so that nothing gets lost or disappears or breaks. This is very important. You do not want to try to find parts. Sometimes you can find replacement parts, sometimes you can't. And I'm really not in the mood to fabricate new parts, if you know what I mean. This is really the main part, is the speaker. We're going to be replacing this wire because it's broken. And then there's the foam. I may be replacing the foam too. Okay. Now see, this is what... Oh, look. There's this flimsy core here that we got to take out as well. And this actually goes all the way. Yeah, this is in here good. But we got it out. This also is going to be put aside. This thing is going to need a definite cleaning. And we got to get this white paint off. And you can see it's all scuffed and scraped. But we'll take care of that soon. And this is what it looks like after I gave it a little bit of a bath. We're still going to clean off all of the white paint. I wanted to give you a little bit of an example of what we're looking at. Look at this nice detail in the logo, NTS here and here. Now this was manufactured in Australia around the mid-1970s. And we can tell because early versions of this from the 1950s and 60s, over here we'd have a little toggle switch. And that would be hooked up to a junction box so that if you wanted to get some snacks, you could hit that little toggle switch and the concessionaire would come to your car and bring you whatever you needed. Again, I'm not really sure what color I'm going to paint this yet, but I'm sure I'll come up with something nice. And before somebody says to me, why are you repainting this? That would detract from it. Just know that in many cases, drive-ins did repaint their speakers to deter theft. If you had a green speaker, if your drive-in had green speakers, and you discovered a green speaker somewhere in a thrift shop or a pawn shop or online these days, you could say, hey, that's my unit, give it back. So, but the first thing I'll need to do is the white paint has to go. So off camera, I'm going to squirt this thing with some aircraft remover and get as much of that off as possible. So I got it scraped down. We cleaned off as much of the paint as we could, as you can see. And the logos are still nice and crisp. So what we're going to do now is we need to apply a self-etching primer because aluminum and paint don't go well together. You need a binder like this self-etching primer before you can paint on this. So I'm going to spritz this with a coat of self-etching primer like right now. Just wanted to show you this. This is what it looks like with self-etching primer. You can see it's got this nice hammer gray to it. And we're not going to leave the hammer gray here. We're going to paint over this. But I just wanted to show you that this is what it's going to look like. And as you can see, the NTS logos look really nice. And they're going to look even better when they're painted with some decent colors. So what I decided to do in terms of painting this is I'm going to go with a two-tone effect. I'm going to start by painting it with a gloss white all over. And then I'll mask off this portion and this portion, and the rest of it, including the back, is going to get a nice coat of this beautiful cherry red. I can't wait to see how this looks. Hey guys, so I spritzed these things off camera. I put a white coat on the back, and I already put a white coat on this front, and I masked off as much as possible and then sprayed it with the cherry red. Now, I gotta let this stuff dry. Now, I could leave the camera on and we could all wait for paint to dry, but we all know that watching paint dry is not going to be something fun for YouTube. So I'll be back in just a bit. Okay, so this is what it looks like after it's been sprayed. Got the beautiful cherry red on it. And this is part of the reveal now. We're gonna take the safety tape off, and hopefully I masked it up enough that this will look absolutely beautiful. We'll see. Ooh. Yeah, look at this. This looks absolutely fantastic. Oh, wow. Little close up here, but I'm not going to cry too loudly about that. Look at that. That is awesome. That's going to look so good when it's all reassembled, I tell you. I will now take care of the second coat for the back of the speaker. This will be the cherry red that I'm going to put on here now. Then once this dries, the chassis will be repainted and I'll be able to start work on the internals. So 24 hours later, look at the shine on this thing. This is absolutely beautiful. And I'm going to put this aside. I'm probably going to put a clear coat on it once this is all done. But I want to show you the front. Remember when I said that I wasn't going to cry too loudly about the overspray? Well, I kind of did, and I needed to fix it. So what I did was I sprayed some of the gloss white into this little tray, and I used the paintbrush to touch up here and over here, and then I just painted this white because I wanted to take away that distracting contrast. And now I'm going to let this cure for another 24 hours in this hot, hot sun, and I'll start working on the innards for this unit. This is really looking good. I'm actually really excited about this. So when I initially took the speaker and the potentiometer out of the NTS speaker, the potentiometer pretty much fell apart. So I bought a new volume control potentiometer, and I've already screwed it in. Now, when this was acquired, there was a nice looking knob. However, the potentiometer here just has this little post. So I ended up ordering this. You can get it similar to the knob you would find on a guitar. We just put this on, and there's a little hole here, and I'm going to actually use this little wrench to tighten that up and make sure that it stays put. The original crummy foam that was in the NTS speaker is not really worth putting back in. So I went down to the arts and crafts store and I purchased this high density foam that you would use for seat cushions or any sort of animal that needs stuffing. And I can cut a chunk out, put it in here, and that will provide cushion and stability to hold the speaker up against the front of the grill. Now, I've opened some of these before, and there have been folded cardboard inside, or rags, or in some cases, anything that would hopefully last long enough to keep the speaker from slipping, and 9 times out of 10, the speaker slips anyway. So I'm going to trim this down and pack this shell, and that will keep the speaker snug up against the chassis. So I was able to reuse the speaker from the NTS original. I've rewired and resoldered everything with a brand new cable and a brand new potentiometer. I also upped my crimping game by crimping these leads, these spade connectors. I got a ratchet spade connector crimping tool. I cut them a little long, so I wrapped up the extra space with electrical tape, tested it out, and I am making good sound. Now all it takes is just a couple moments to reassemble everything. Time now to reassemble the chassis. We've got the foam in here to keep the speaker in place, and I cut out some divots in the foam to thread the screws. That's where it gets a little tricky. Just gonna clamp that down, and before I can let go of the pressure, I need to make sure this screw is in and in tightly. Got the first screw in. Took a little while to get the second one because it's longer and needs a little extra threading. And it made me think, this is a speaker from Australia. And I'm thinking some of the best Australian movies I've ever seen. Obviously, the Mad Max series is right at the top. I would also add the first Crocodile Dundee. Not so much the second one. Never saw the third. And there was another really good film I saw when I was a kid called Dot and the Kangaroo, where it was an animated girl named Dot and an animated kangaroo, and they galloped through the Australian outback. Really fantastic stuff. Look at this beauty. This is incredible. This is a now restored Australian NTS drive-in speaker. I really like how this looks. Paint's a little bit strong, but I'm okay with it. Tightened up where there was some overspray. You can still see this beautiful logo on it. Now, as I said before, I don't have a sponsorship program. I don't contact people to advertise on my show. I do, however, put these speakers on my Etsy site, which is chuckmillercreatives.etsy.com. There you can purchase any of the speakers that I've worked on for this video project, as well as some of my photography and other projects. Thank you so much for joining me, and please come back for another video very soon.